Welcome to our amDirt year in review, where me and Eddie are going to talk about the things we loved, some of the things that maybe we didn't love, but it's basically just what our year was wrapped up. Today, on this kind of review, we're going to talk about Frosthaven because that's obviously the main thing that we do on this.
Mhm.
But we're also going to dabble into a few other categories like other board games and movies, music, stuff like that that we've liked this year. And I mean, this has been pretty cool just doing this and having a think about it because I can't remember the road event we did last week, let alone what I was listening to or playing, 9 to 10 months ago. So it's been fun, and it'd be good to find out what Deddy thinks about that and just share our thoughts.
That's right. It's like you were just saying before we hit the record button. It's like the Unwrapped in Spotify, and what else does it? It's just
Steam,
Spotify.
Steam told me all the
Ah,
things that I was doing, and like there was even that little someone put their Frosthaven, no Gloomhaven Steam stats on the Frosthaven Reddit or Gloomhaven Reddit, and it even had a little bit of a dig at them. It was something like, "This is the amount of hours that you spent playing Gloomhaven." It wouldn't have even covered how long it took you to like pack up and set up,
gotcha.
that kind of stuff. So
It's
yeah,
in the Spotify for Amda, like Spotify manager thing. It gives you an Unwrapped for that for actual the podcast, which I didn't even know existed. So it actually shows you kind of the numbers of where your listeners are from, your most popular countries, and all that kind of stuff. And then it says something that there's a certain group of people where our podcast was their number one podcast that they listen to on Spotify, which was really cool. And it goes through all those kind of figures, which was really interesting as a unwrapped animation. Except mine
yeah.
bugged out and it did the whole thing in Chinese, and I had to refresh it a few times to work out why, because I couldn't understand it. But anyway, yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. So live from China to our biggest audience. Yeah, I found the YouTube music one was interesting for me because my most played is all the songs that I play for the kids when they go to bed because
Oh no.
they listen to them every night. So it was all these artists, all these songs and playlists that I literally just put on when they go to bed and they just play all the way through. So I had to dig to actually find any of the music I liked.
It's because Calvin uses my thing in the other room. It's just like a tablet connected to a speaker. So if we're doing something, he wants to play music. He played like last year's one, not 2023. He played a whole bunch of Japanese music, just Japanese pop music from like the 70s and 80s, that he's really into. And then when it does my end of year, yeah, same thing. It's just like you love all of this stuff, and I'm like, great, you've screwed up my algorithm now. So in the car, I'm like, ooh, best 2021. Let's play some Manson, play some Corn, and then here's some Japanese artists you've never heard of before. It's just like, oh, cool, thanks. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's good, it's good. Well, hopefully our review of our own years will be just as chaotic and, biased towards things that we don't actually like,
Mm,
because we've forgotten all the cool stuff.
that's right.
And recency bias is big, right? So it's basically just the top of what happened in the last month.
Exactly. What's Frosthaven?
Yeah, that's it. Very good. Well, look, the way we'll do it, we're just gonna go through a few categories. We'll start with Frosthaven, and, we'll just kinda share our thoughts and give a little bit of a, idea on why that is our kind of top or one of our picks. And to start off with Frosthaven, we're going to start at scenario of the year. So, kind of, what was your favorite or what stands out? Now, there was a notable, like, honorable mention that popped up here because we did recently did a top 10, like, favorite and top 10 worst scenarios. And we have only played like three or four since then. Now, the one that we actually played one, A Giant Block of Ice, and that actually was, again, maybe just recency bias, maybe it was, like, my second one on the Banosphere, so it could have been like, "Oh, this is new and fresh," but I really enjoyed that one, I thought it
Mm,
was really cool. So, it's probably not at the top, because it's so new, but I think my favorite overall was My Private Empire. So that was the, one where we go it's like the side events, and that's probably spoilers for a bunch of people, and a bunch of other people like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." But basically, yeah, you go through those different sections and you get to like continue on. It's like a push your luck style thing, which I thought was not only a really cool way to do a scenario, it was very different, but it also just kind of it fit together really well. So it was fun to play. So it's kind of a really good combination of mechanics, fluff, and actual enjoyment. So
yeah.
that's kind of why it was my favorite.
Mm. Recency bias is number 73, which now 71, 72, 73. Yeah, that's the most recent one we actually did.
Oh,
It was
really?
yeah, we haven't actually covered it. We haven't done an episode on it. That's the next recording, right? I really enjoyed that one. That was really, really, really cool. I can't remember the name of it, but I just know that it's underwater, I think, or it was like, yeah, Flotsam, Floatsam. That's the
Float
one.
them?
Yeah, 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 that one. So I really, really enjoyed that because it was a very different take on just a regular scenario. Also, it was a boss scenario, so it was really kind of cool to reminded me of 21, which is another one of my favorites of the year. Realm of Endless Frost, scenario 21, in that there's this crazy build up towards a boss. And when you finally get to it, you're sitting there going, guys, I don't know if we can do this, and all of that kind of stuff. Very stressful. Really enjoyed that. But it's still the best scenario of the year for me. The Teddy Stamp, scenario 38, the way forward. It's just can't be beat at the moment. And yeah, that was also on my top
Is that
10.
the instant boss?
That is not Lich King. That is Kel'Thuzad. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
Still my
Awesome.
favorite. I think
So,
just
yeah.
on that, I think the other one we did, what was the other one with the TD one? I think it was part of my PQ before we got to the boss. 67. I can't remember the name of it. We got it's Protect the Pillars, ultimately. Remember that one? We never covered that in
Oh,
the
yeah,
that
with
was
the
a
chaos units.
and I learned that with a lot of the scenarios that I really like, I like the element of a TD part of it, where you kind of have this crushing feeling of you're going to get overtaken by a swarm of whatever. Stay alive as long as you can, also while protecting these. I do like those design ones, but yes,
Mm.
move forward.
Yeah, no, 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 it's good. That was a good one. I forgot about that. So,
Mm.
all right. So next, favorite class you played. Now we have only played a few classes. We're not through 10, 20 of the classes, whatever many there are in the game. Right? 18? Is that 18? 16?
So 17.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty close. Rounded up to 20.
Yeah.
There's three bonus ones you don't know about. So the three I've played are the Geminate, the Coral, and the Banisphere in that order. Like, it's hard, right? Because I
I
like
found
the
this hard.
Geminate. Yeah, well, I like the Geminate. It was my first class. It's so there was a whole bunch of new Frosthaven experience stuff in that. And then the Coral's the first unlocked class, right? And it had these really cool mechanics. The Banisphere is pretty new. I am actually really digging the Banisphere, right? But I think it's still pretty early to say it's my favorite. So I landed on the Coral, and I think only because I had probably more of those big turns or big scenarios where I found I was able to do heaps of stuff. I also had a few scenarios where I was basically just a messenger carrying shit around. So maybe that. Yeah, I'd love to give the Geminade another crack for that reason, but to see how I could make it work. But yeah, I think I'd land on the coral.
Is it fair to say because of the first love kind of situation with some of these classes, especially when they're the starters, right? It's kind of like that starter. It's hard to play it again from. It's hard to play someone else's starter because it's tied to them in a way more so than maybe the
Mm.
unlock. So when
Yeah,
I think Geminate, I think you. I
yeah,
can't see anyone else playing. Doubt anyone will, but you know what I mean. It feels like it's Gaz's origin story almost, or it's where you started. So
yeah.
like the unlocks, like if I had to pick another one that I'd play, potentially it might be the Meteor or something like that. But that's not a starter. But you associate the Deathwalk with Phil, and you associate the Bone Shaper with Calvin.
Uh, so 100%. Like, I feel like if I played the Deathwalker, it would be like hopping into Phil's bed just after he got up, right? Like,
Yes.
and I hate getting into a bed that someone else is just sleeping in the warm part of the bed. Like, I've got to make it my own. But yeah, that's just what it feels like. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is yours. And I guess I'm just going to make it my own for now for a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
where did you land?
so obviously I start off with a drifter, which I don't mind if anyone else picks, to be honest. I mean, have fun with it. Which I think it's fun. It's funny. Dwarf actually mentioned it recently, I think on a Facebook post, or it might have been Reddit, that the drifter's really, really enjoyable and fun for probably the first four levels, four roughly. And that's kind of where its power kind of peaks a little bit. It's one of the strongest to start off with, due to crushing weight being a +2 is ridiculous. And then all the other classes start to catch up, and then it becomes a little bit more like kind of left behind a little bit as everyone else kind of overtakes it, which is an interesting take that I somewhat agree with. Then we went into Snowflake, which was probably the most, well, I don't want to say the most flexible. It is flexible to an extent, but I don't think it's flexible in the way that the Shackles is. So my favorite class is currently the Shackles. it's hard because it's also the most recent one I'm playing. I'm still exploring it, but I think the problem lies from the Drifter has no flexibility. Um, Even though right at the very start of playing, I said it was a very flexible class, and I enjoy the fact that it had all these persistence. It really doesn't, right? You can play a range drifter, etc., but you really just, you're walking around with one leg. Whereas the Snowflake, its other main option that I can see is a support that heals and moves teammates around and blesses them and does things like that. And for me personally, that's not a fun style of play. I think it's great to be able to, oh, let's bump the difficulty up because you've literally got a pocket healer, all of you. Um, Still not fun necessarily. There will be people that love that play style of supporting and helping. It's just, I don't mind a little bit of support, but if it's the whole kit almost, which it feels like it might be, with a little bit of push pull, yeah, it's a little bit that's it. The shackles, though, from what I can see, has two or three probably play styles built into the core cards that I've seen so far, and they all seem very different. So if there was another, if I had to replay the shackle and go down a different path, that excites me because there are quite distinct play styles to it that all seem to appeal to me, unlike the others. So class of the year for me, which is a bit weird because it's the one I'm playing right now, is definitely the Shackles. I think it's definitely bringing the most excitement to me personally, and it's also bending my brain the most at the moment.
And no one can argue that you didn't give the Snowflake enough of a crack to see if it would be your favorite because you played it for about 50 scenarios. So,
That's
uh,
probably half the reason as well why I got a little over it towards the end.
never want to think about it again. Yeah.
No.
And the third of the Frosthaven kind of review, kind of best of thing is just the coolest, the biggest wow moment of the year, right? So what was the thing through our Frosthaven journey that just made you go like just yes, that was awesome. I loved every minute of it. For me, I had look again. I had a couple when we talked about this with the fist versus the snowflake. I think is that scenario four.
Hmm.
The first time that was really cool, and I remember at the moment just being like, "Whoa! Like this is such a cool way of making you choose your path." Like it wasn't, "Do you want to go this way? This one?" It's like have a fight, figure it out, go right. I thought that was really cool, and there was a few really cool big crab play moments where I got to like AOE spiky crab the whole room and everything died, which was cool. But I think from a the thing that I ended up landing on was the choose your own adventure outpost event. Now, I don't want to say too much of this because it's spoilers, right?
Yeah.
But the one because we were pretty much asking for this, right? About the week before when we did our episode, and so we got it right. That was a pretty much like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, Azak, where are you?
Yeah, it's the
Like,
amDirt call, right? We've got a habit
yep,
of doing that, and then most recently happened again as well. But
which we'll talk
oh,
about.
it's a
So
Simpsons thing.
it is, it is. So, but look, the script was great for that scenario. So that did that out that event. It was heaps of fun. I felt it was really cool. There was a puzzle aspect. It just felt amazing.
Mm,
Like it outside of all of the other things happening, and it's weird because it's like the most different thing in Frosthaven because it wasn't really part of any of the normal stuff. It's the outpost event, which some people kind of are a bit down on in general, the outpost phase. But it was just a lot of fun. And one extra kind of little thing on that, the Fortella reading of it made it even better. I know there's been some conversation on Reddit recently about is Fortella worth it? Is it not? There's been some posts and people have their own kind of experiences and opinions. And some people have had issues with the actual app, which I don't think we really have, or I haven't because you do it all. So I can't talk to that. But this was one of those ones where it was the voice acting of the characters involved in it, one particular character, right? Again, I don't wanna say anything without spoiling anything, was just amazing. It was just
mm.
so dismissive, so, like, I remember reading through it, I think we covered it on Raw, of just, like, how well written that was, and it was just made it really, really cool.
I love that a third party like company can contribute something so magical to a game, and be rewarded for it in such a good way. Then at the moment they're the only ones, as far as I know, doing it for a wide variety of games, and obviously they're very very talented. And the best way of supporting that and really bringing it out is to buy it basically,
Mm,
for the game you're doing because it makes such a difference, especially when it comes to some of the storytelling in games. But yeah,
so, yeah, that was mine.
coolest moment, wow moment. I've got two, and they're very similar in what I would consider very wow and cool. Uh, it really comes down to sometimes it takes RNG to determine when something is really, really special, right? When a scenario is done and dusted, okay, if you can calculate the end result, it feels good to know you won, but it can be a little on the anticlimactic side. This is where RNG shines, and we've had two instances of it. One very recent, actually, with scenario 73. I'm not going to go into why, but it'll be similar to my actual choice, which is the ending towards of scenario 10, which where Gaz is dead. Phil and I have one turn left, and it literally came down to RNG, came down to the card flips of when something went, and that determined whether or not we won the scenario. We've either been booked by bad RNG and it's ended the scenario, which is obviously not a highlight, but it does come out of nowhere. But most of the scenarios we have when we've won, we've kind of seen it from a while away. We piece it together, whether it be an escape one or whether it be just kill this, move the ice pillar into the thing. We can calculate it and all of that. Or there's a fill timer, right? Which is also anticlimactic. But yeah, scenario 10 with that last roll of the dice with Phil trying to get that last hit and knowing that if he missed because of the curses that were placed in our deck and because of just the null, it was all up to me to do the exact same thing. And there's a world where we both miss that
Mm,
or it goes beforehand and disarms. There was just so much on the line. And
mm.
there's an old recording of us as we played that moment of the heavy breathing, the excitement, me getting cocky, you telling us to calm down. Yeah, it was just that. So I think that definitely is something that's happened so rarely to
Mm.
us in this game, but when it has shown itself, and it kind of did on 73 last week with a certain trap. Yeah, they're magic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that kind of stuff is the reason why we decided to play Frosthaven after playing Gloomhaven so many years ago, but also decided to do this podcast, right? Is that the way that the game is built, it's built in the way that those moments can happen. They don't happen all the time. A lot of the time, the math works itself out. Things, as you said, you kind of know the outcome ahead of time, or you can kind of work it out. But there are times when the planets align, everything goes perfectly for the series of RNG, monster deck, your deck, what cards you pick, all those things, and you get these really cool moments. And you're right, sometimes the ones that aren't memorable, like us getting wrecked on that heist one that we had to do multiple times, not
Mm,
on our top list. But yeah, the times that it can actually like line up to make a really cool, memorable moment is awesome. And I think it's like again, really big props to the designers of the games one that test it because they've created mechanisms that can allow that to happen,
yeah.
right? And it's not that it's super rare. It's super rare that all of those things happen, but there are constantly moments in scenarios you do where monsters flip over a card and it wrecks your turn. And
Mm,
not just pulls over a card disarms you, but pulls over a turn and they'll push something or they'll pull something or they'll heal something and it just messes everything up and you're like, "Oh wow, it's cool." It feels like the game is actually fighting against you,
yeah.
right? So yeah, it is really cool.
There's an element of storytelling there as well because that moment we had with scenario 10 will maybe unique to us and other people may experience it on a completely different scenario. Everyone's going to have this different journey with these different highs and lows and different milestones. And that's really cool to be able to create something like that. It's not like, oh, this is the good scenario, which on paper, yes, it could be. It's more like our scenario 10 was epic compared to someone else. It was dull, right? Whereas we could have the opposite situation with something else. And that's cool because it just means everyone's campaign's different.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think that's we got a little bit of feedback in our community, right, when we did our top 10 and our top 10 worst, where people were like, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't like that scenario." And it just comes down to it, right?
That's
Like,
exactly
we're
it.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we had a rubbish time on that one." And other people are like, "Oh, no, it was great. We had a great time." And you're like, "That's exactly it." So cool. All right. Well, that's kind of Frosthaven. And now I wanted to go into a little bit more of a general kind of sense. I'm just trying to fix my camera up here because it's gone all wonky. So non Frosthaven related.
Yep.
All right. So I thought we both play video games. So I thought maybe we talk about some video games.
Yep.
I tried to find my Steam history thing to remind me what I had played this year, but can't for some reason bring it up. So I went to my history and then got a history of every single game that I've ever played in no particular order. I was like, okay, that's also not useful. But I'd say, look, well, actually, the joke. answer here is Gloomhaven Digital, right? Because I played a shitload of that this year,
Yeah,
uh, and it was good. It was really good. I hadn't played Gloomhaven since we played, which was years and years ago.
yeah.
So it was really cool to go through, play a bunch of classes I never saw, never got to play. That was a lot of fun. Baldur's Gate, I think, is probably one of the best games that's been made this year. Like, right now,
Oh, I forgot about that.
so I put it down first, and even though I didn't finish it, I only got through the first act. Like that time that I spent, I was just like, it's amazing. It's just so well done,
Yeah.
right? But I'd say the game that I probably liked, played a fair bit of, and really, really enjoyed, is a game called Against the Storm, which it's on Steam. I think maybe it's released now out of early access. I don't know, but it's like a little. I don't even know what it's called. Like a puzzly
RTS?
base builder. No, 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 it's not really because you don't control anything. You just kind of control, uh, wha it's gonna sound you tell your people what the things that you want them to do. So, like, what minerals to go get or what to research and build, and you're kind of balancing a whole bunch of things like resource generation, and a whole bunch of meters. It's one
So
of
it
those
sounds like
meters games.
RimWorld. Sounds like something like that.
Yeah, kinda like RimWorld, but just not as like really heavy into that stuff. You're not building your base as much in that. You don't have as much design around it. So, yeah, I found that was really cool. I haven't played it. I maybe played it for like a month or so, and I know there's been a bunch of updates, but yeah, that really stood out to me. A game that I was like, I've never heard of this. I'm gonna have a look. I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I'll grab it, and then I just played it for like a month nonstop.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, that's always usually a good sign when I can't
Yeah.
stop playing something.
I think short answer for this would actually be Baldur's Gate. Because legit, when you said to me, "Hey, find a game that new to you this year," kind of thing, I was just like, "Ugh, I don't think I've played anything new." Gloomhaven Digital, I did play a bit with Phil. I have a whole bunch of recorded footage that I'm supposed to be editing. Um, it's just there's one scenario in that we beat ourselves our heads against the wall in it probably about 6 or 7 times, all recorded, and it's such a pain for me to go through all that, especially because the first scenarios we do or the discovery ones, oh, this does that and the mechanics, so I have to keep that in there. Anyway, eventually I'll get around to it probably because I wouldn't mind finishing that with Phil. That was actually fun. Baldur's Gate definitely has been an amazing game that's come out. It's given me. I finished Divinity Original Sin 2 with Calvin, I think last year, and it was brilliant. We also did Solasta as well. So those kind of, I don't know what they're called, CRPGs. Um, those games are right up our alley as a couple, and it's really really cool to be able to go through that together. And that one's just knocked it out of the park, as I knew Larian would. And then yeah, I guess the only other two games that I mostly play these days. Oh, look, Dota's kind of new to me again because every time it's a patch, and they patch it, so much change. So technically, it felt like a new game this year. So
It
Dota
did.
2,
Playing Dota recently has been a lot of fun, but I wasn't gonna put it on there, even though it's like my most played game ever. Uh,
yes. But yeah, that's a nice online MOBA. It's really friendly, lots of really friendly people, always willing to help new people come into the game. Um, you just take your time, you build your character however you want to. Just throw spells. Yeah, eventually you'll
yeah,
win.
yeah. So what was your actual answer before I reminded you that Baldur's Gate existed?
It was gonna be Dota 2. Yeah, it was gonna be Dota
Okay,
2.
excellent.
But I'll be fair, I forgot about Gloomhaven Digital as well. In my head, I
Mm,
was just like, I don't know how to look up games that I've played this year, and I wasn't about to go searching. So I was just like,
yeah.
what's the one I can think of? Yeah.
Yeah, it is tricky. There's a couple of little indie games that I played. I'm not sure if I played them. I think I might have played them towards the end of last year. Another one, yeah, there was been heaps, but I was going through. I think that's what I landed on. Uh, the other The other thing that I completely forgot until we were talking about is that Diablo 3 or like 4 came out
Oh
this year,
yeah, yeah,
right?
nice.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun for a really short period of time. So it's a shame that that wasn't, more memorable.
Well, to me, you would think that because I think Diablo 4 was good, definitely good.
Mm.
But it wasn't like I can't remember it. Um, Baldur's Gate 3, on the other hand, was phenomenal. I can't remember it, so maybe it's got something to do with me. Memory's bad.
Memory is bad. Cool. And that's why you need these recaps, right? Because now we can go back at the end of next year and we can watch this video and remind ourselves what we did in 2023 so we don't say it again in 2024.
No, because we'll get towards
Although,
the end of next year and it'll be like, guys, the recap's coming. Let's install something and just play it quick. What's on sale? Like,
yeah, well, I'm sure Dota will probably still come back again after another year.
that's true.
All right. What about board game? So a couple are here. So favorite board game you played this year. Now it doesn't have to be new. This is just like from playing
New
games.
to
Like,
us.
no, not even new to us. This is
Oh,
just what's your favorite that you've played. You might have been an old. So for example, for me, it's Ti. I think because I think it's just like we've talked about this, but it's just like the best game, right?
mm,
It's so hard to get to the table, and it takes so long, and it's such a big investment. But when it does happen, if you're just comparing playing a game versus playing another game, it's got to be the best,
yeah. Yeah, I'll
right?
agree with
Well, it's
that.
definitely one that had the most fun, and maybe only played it 3 or 4 times this year. So, but it's been cool this year for me to be able to play it more, do the draft, and get involved in more games. So it's not all theory crafting or once a year you get to play this big game.
Yep.
I think that's been really cool.
I think drafting has also made it like super fun. That's something that we've been able to do. Because whenever you draft in any kind of situation, I think Magic they do it with the I don't know what it's called, but when you buy a big box and draft it like that, isn't that a thing? Or am I
Yep.
confusing mechanics? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes the
Nothing.
event more eventful and
Yep.
fun. I have two. One I actually played today. So I went to Phil's house today and we actually played a game called Bloodstone. It's made by Martin Wallace, designer of Brass, Brass Birmingham, and a whole bunch of other games. I like Martin Wallace's stuff, and I've been exploring his stuff more recently. This is just it looks like mahjong, like dominoes. It's like a beautiful board where it's made of cloth. I think it was a Kickstarter game, and it's you pick one of six factions, and then the asymmetric factions, and it's just an area control. The rules are super clean, like super clean. And I think what I liked about it most, other than the tactility of the tiles, because the tiles they feel like that I don't know that resiny mahjong style, nice and weighty, and they make a nice, really satisfying clacking noise when you click them together. They're
Yeah.
also your units. They're your units, they're your buildings, and all that kind of stuff. And there are games out there that have multi-use cards. So this card counts as a unit, but also can used as a currency, but it can also be used as an action thing. It's full of that, and games like that just really open your mind to how the hell you want to play it. So I thought that was phenomenal. The other one we actually played together, same designer, old game, Study in Emerald, which we played recently. I thought that was brilliant. I really, really liked that. We managed to get 2 games of that out, and I had a lot of fun with that, and want to explore that more because of how much that game can end very fast, because of the whole team system and the hidden team system. Yeah, I think it's got
Yeah.
a lot of depth to it, which yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one played again, knowing that it's not going to be this really long-winded game, and you can get a few sessions out relatively quickly.
Mm. Yeah, it definitely did have a enough to it to want to keep replaying it, but also not too long that you found you had that fatigue.
Yeah.
But there's games like that where you're like, oh, we can play it again, but this kind of went for a couple of hours. And I don't really want to play it again straight away.
Yep.
So you only get one game in. But yeah, definitely, I think it's one that you can reshuffle and go again.
100%.
I think from a new game perspective for me, things that I only played this year, I reckon I had well, and this was mostly all. I think this was all Game Mania. So if you've listened to our Game Mania like podcast, you probably already know these answers. Seas of Havoc was amazing.
Yeah, 6 out of 6
Six out of
turtles.
six turtles. Yeah, that's it. Uh, Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a cool game, and it's been really cool in our community. We've got a channel now. We've got a couple of people who in our little community, a Discord community, who run online Blood on the Clock Tower games. And while I haven't played in one, so shout out to Lunacy and Weedy, who have both been creating games and kind of inviting everybody. And also the cool thing about that is one of them is Australia based, one of them is US based, so the kind of different time zones of games going, which has worked really well. I haven't joined in any of them, but I've been jumping in as a spectator to listen and watch. The ones Lunacy runs are all custom scripts, and I have no idea what's going on, but it's all very interesting. Don't know if I've heard one that Weedy's done, but I'm sure I think he's running more beginner friendly ones, and he's saying that hey, any experiences are welcome.
Yep.
But that's been really cool to see that whole world because it's like I don't. It's like the ultimate social deduction game, right? Like it just has everything that you want in a game like that it's just doing it so well.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the biggest challenge I think we noticed at Game Mania for that was getting enough people together. That's why we did it then because we had 9 people and it worked really well. But these online sessions are actually pretty cool to see and they run really well. And it's super easy to get people.
Yep.
Well, it seems to be super easy for them to organize to get people.
Yeah.
So that was it. So Seeds of Havoc and Blood and Cocktail were two games that I played that I really like. But my favorite new game
Oh, here
of
we go.
this year,
I know what
this
it
is
is.
Bonanza.
Okay.
So so
Oh
I
god.
never played this game before, right? And I thought it was amazing. Okay, for those that haven't played it, like me, I might have been the only person. You basically plant beans, and
I still
then
haven't
you run
played it.
around. Oh,
I
dude,
was
it's the best.
hungover watching you guys play it.
It's my game of 2023. You have to.
Wow.
So now I did a little bit of research, not because I usually don't. This game came out in 1997.
Yep. We were 12. Well, I was 12.
So, like, I could have been playing this for like, what's that, the last 25 years?
Yeah, probably.
I brought it up with some friends actually, and I mentioned to them after I played it. I was like, "Oh, I played this really cool game." Blah because nobody told me when we played it that it was really old.
No.
So I mentioned it to them. I played this really cool game. Blah blah blah. I can't remember what it's called. I was explaining the rules, and they're like, "That sounds like Bonanza." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I can't. Maybe that's it." And they're like, "Yeah, dude. Like we were playing that when Catan came out." I was like, "I've never played it before," and they're like, "Well, you might have missed it, but it definitely came." It was. Yeah, I was like, "No," and they're like, "Yeah, dude." So, but anyway, play it if you haven't played it. Plant some beans and wreck each other. It's great.
I can't believe
So
Gaz's game of the year.
I'm just catching up. Hey, look, if it didn't win Game of the Year in 1997, then it was robbed.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
yeah. A lot of so yeah, cool. So probably onto a little bit more stuff that's a bit more lighthearted and completely random. Is some music and TV shows.
Mhm.
So I guess music wise, I don't listen to a lot of new music. I listen to most of the music that I've been listening to the last like 30 years, and then I just repeat it. And so occasionally I use YouTube Music, so that goes, "Hey, you should listen to this band." And most of the time, it's just like some punk band that I missed the first time round through the 2000s. And so I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is really cool," but it's the same as what I'm listening to, right? I fell down a hole, and I fell down this Japanese punk hardcore hole. And I've been really digging it, and it's been the first time in a long time I've actually been like, "Wow, I'm really enjoying listening to new music." Now, I don't speak Japanese, right? So that makes it interesting.
You're learning it.
I'm learning it, right? And they speak Japanese, but they also speak English sometimes or sing in English, but I don't know when because the English isn't always clear. So most of the time, I have no idea what they're talking about, but it doesn't matter. But I would recommend, if you have any interest in anything around those genres, a band called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Really annoying band to Google because there's a very, very famous movie with that
Yeah.
name. And if you want to listen to a song, just YouTube Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Let me hear. Okay. And it's like the tappers of, I think the genre they play in is electronic core, like Japanese electronic core, which is so weird. But it's like electronic, hardcore, punky, metal. Like it's just a mash of everything, and it's crazy and chaotic and fun. And have a listen. If you hate it, I can completely understand why. But if you don't hate it, listen to it more, and it just grows on you. And yeah, just go down that rabbit hole.
No, nice. Nice. I look forward to when you can understand Japanese and you sit there rocking out in Japanese next to me when you're next playing it. That'll be awesome.
That's it.
Maybe my secret will be I'll listen to a heaps of it and learn the songs and I'll join you straight in and freak you out.
What about you? Have you listened to anything new or found anything new, discovered anything new this year?
I get like you, I don't really listen to a lot of new music, so I kind of born in the 80s means that I spent a lot of time listening to a lot of 90s music and a lot of what do we call them now? 2000s, like noughties, is that literally what they're
Oh,
called?
same, early 2000s.
The O's. And my music taste, I listen to a lot of pop music, as a lot of people do when they are a teenager, and that's all you hear because you're in the car and they're listening to the radio. And a couple of friends got me into metal, and they got me into a lot of new metal, which was very big at the time. So I listened to a lot of the new metal kind of stuff, and I mixed that a lot with a lot of the pop and dance music. And then, of course, when I would go clubbing, I'd listen to a lot of EDM and a lot of club music and house music, and then my music taste went all over the place. The only thing I don't listen to is country. I hear it's Dwarf's favorite. That's completely fine. But yeah, it's what I have discovered again through Spotify, and what a lot of these platforms do is they listen to your kind of what you're listening to and do a really good job of saying, hey, we're just gonna slip a random song in here, and that's kind of what happened. A random song kind of hit my thing, and I was like, oh, I like this. What is this? And the band was Ice Nine Kills. Ice Nine Kills. I think they started in 2000, but I only really have appreciated their last two albums. They're a metalcore band. Um, their lead singer is Spencer Charnas, who has a phenomenal voice. I think they might be Canadian. I'm not 100% too sure. But their whole music library is based on horror films. So every film is inspired by a horror movie. So the most recent one is called Meet and Greet, and it's based on Silence of the Lambs. And they've actually got snippets of the movie, or at least wordings from it built into the music. And I think they're known as metalcore, ska punk. I don't know what that is. And they've also got what they've dubbed theatrecore, because their music's very theatrical at the same time. And pretty much all of their songs, I'm sitting there going, "Ooh." Well, if it's a song I haven't heard, I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what movie this is from." And a lot of the music's like that. They cover Resident Evil, they cover all of Friday the 13th and all of that. They do American Psycho brilliantly, and their video clips are amazing. So yeah, I've discovered them, and now I'm very much enjoying everything they put out, especially from their last two albums. So yeah,
What was the name of that band?
Ice Nine Kills.
Ice 9 is in the number?
Yep. As in
Yeah.
Nine. Ice Nine
Yeah, yeah.
Kills.
Cool.
If
Cool,
you're
cool.
gonna listen to one song from them, Rainy Day is probably I guess, most popular one at the moment, at least the one with the most likes. It's probably the easiest to get into. The video clip it's Resident Evil. It's amazing. It's so well done. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll have to check it out. So awesome. And shame on you for not going what ska punk is. Like seriously, that's
What
like
I
my
don't even
jam.
know what punk is. Like I think I
Come
can
on,
detect it, but
come on.
what's a ska? Is that like dubstep?
No, ska's
Is
like
that Skrillex?
punk with jazz instruments. Like
Oh,
it's
that
like
sounds cool.
reggae punk. That's like real big fish. You know. Oh, come on. Anyway, all right.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's
Fine.
just shit on my list then.
No, no, I'm not shitting on your list at all. I'm saying ska. I don't. I'm surprised you don't know what ska is, but that's okay.
Yeah. No.
There we go. We'll introduce you. So cool. And the last one was a favorite TV show or movie. And I know you've been jamming movies like hard lately,
Uh,
especially Die
trying
Hard one.
to. Just Christmas related movies.
I
Yeah.
I haven't watched much this year, to be honest. Like it's really a fun. Me and my partner find it really tricky to watch movies. By the time we get kids to bed and stuff like that, it's usually too late to start something, and I hate watching half a movie. So I don't know. There's two that I've got. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and Andor was amazing. It was just incredible. The whole storyline. Like, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, watch Andor because the storyline, it's not Star Warsy. It's
TV
like
show or movie?
yeah, it's
Okay.
TV series. It's like there's no Jedi in it. There's no of the like high fantasy Star Wars stuff. It's just gritty, cool, well acted, really well written. It's got some amazing scenes in it. That just I don't know. It just killed you. So I love that. That was incredible. And the other one that I think would be more popular, or I'm not more popular than Star Wars, but The Last of Us,
Oh
which
yeah.
was the based on the video game, which I haven't played the video game, so I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know it was about what it's about. Which again, I'm not going to spoil anything. So I just jumped onto it because I'd heard a few people like, oh, it's really good. So we watched it, and you know, how sometimes you watch those series where you're like, "Oh, the first episode was okay. I guess I'll watch 3 or 4 more. Hopefully, I get into it." And eventually, you're halfway through the season, and you may as well finish watching the season,
Mm.
right? This was one of those ones that I'm pretty sure, like, after the first episode, we were both just like, "Yes." Like, it was just again, it was really, really good. So, I mean, I'm sure most people out there have seen it, but that was, yeah, TV series wise, probably the best that I liked.
Yeah, nice. Um, I got into now. I think it was this year. Um, we've got a little channel between me, you, and Maggie where we discuss TV shows and all that, and we randomly just started having this massive chat about TV shows and movies and that we haven't seen. We ended up recommending each other certain stuff, and something that was recommended to me was The Wire. I've never seen The Wire. I think The Wire came out in early 2000s. I think somewhere around that time, and I had watched Oz, and I had I think Oz may have come after it. I can't remember the timeline of it, but when I was looking into Oz and people's discussions of it, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this actor, they're really known for being on The Wire, even though they're in Oz." And I'm just like, "Oh, okay, cool." And there were so many crossovers, and I think that's because I think the director liked a lot of the casting and kept a lot of them on, and they play different very different characters. It's almost like some people who were good or the cops from The Wire, the bad guys in Oz and all of that. So Gaz and Mangy both recommended I get into The Wire, and after the first couple of episodes, I was like, "Oh, this isn't too bad," and it really picked up. I was surprised that it held my attention because I struggle sometimes with attention for, I don't know, slow burn kind of build shows, especially if there's a lot of technical lingo, which sometimes in cop speak, and when you throw a lot of politics in there as well, it gets very tricky. But no, I watched the whole thing. I watched all 8 seasons over the spread of the year, and I was really disappointed with that it ended. It's just one of those ones where it finished it. And I'm like, oh, damn. So yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. I'm now looking into doing something similar, and I think I, I I see so many shows on streaming services these days, and some people talking about you have to watch this and you have to watch that, and I'm like, no, I don't. I really don't. I'm gonna go back in time and watch this. Like the next one I want to tackle is Sopranos, right? And I want to rewatch Oz with a different appreciation for it because I haven't seen it in probably 5 or 10 years. So yeah, it's kind of that golden era of HBO TV that I really kind of want to recapture in a way.
Yeah, I'd love to go back and watch Sopranos again and not have seen it. Like I've watched it twice now. Like once when it first kind of came out, and then and again, maybe 10 years ago, I think. Watched it with my partner, because she hadn't seen it, and again, just loved it. Like I was so surprised how well it had aged. And I think the reason why I ended up recommending The Wire to you when we got in that conversation was that we had just finished watching it. So I again had seen The Wire way back in the day, my partner hadn't, so we watched through it. And again, I'm just so surprised that a show made so long ago, it it ages so well.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel dated from, you could tell it was made a while ago, but it didn't feel dated from a, I don't know, like the storyline or the tropes or things like that. It just it still felt pretty real.
Yeah. What I like about going back in time and not rewatching, sorry, watching for the first time, discovering these kind of things, is that sometimes internet references will always go over your head, and then when you watch it, you'll see a scene, and it's a famous meme or a GIF or something like that, and you're like, "Oh, that's where that comes from." So that's what's really like that is a whole other level of Easter egg discovery, going back and like not rewatching, but watching for the first time some of these classics. So yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. So that was it. That was the
yeah,
big one.
that's a
Yeah,
big one.
cool. Awesome. Well, and I probably should go watch Oz because I think I only saw sporadic parts of it when it was like actually being released. Because I think back then that was when it wasn't even on a main TV show, a TV channel. It was really hard to watch. We didn't have the internet back then, so yeah, well,
Hmm.
not much of it. Cool. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all we've got. I mean, 2023's been cool. Probably the biggest highlight of 2023 overall has been starting this podcast
Mm,
because thing, we talked about if you managed to get through episode one and still kept listening, good on you. And I think, we talked about the reason we started it was because we spent so much time talking about what we loved about board games
yeah.
and not reviewing them, not trying to improve them, not saying like, which mechanics were the best and which designer was the best, but more just like what was fun, right? Like talking about our experience, you know, and that kind of stuff. And we thought, well, I wonder if we recorded this and put it on the internet, if anyone would listen to it. Turns out there is like at least 12 people out there who do want to listen to it. So
It's you're 100% right. The very beginning when it's like, "Oh, let's just try this out with our crappy headphones and, see what we can do with no camera and, just see what could become," right? And if we can get a couple of people listening. I remember when we uploaded it, I've got written here, Mr. or Mrs. or someone Virginia was the very first listener that popped up on our radar. As soon as they were the first, but we hadn't advertised it or anything like that. We just uploaded it and just left it, and we just saw what happened. And I was refreshing the page, and all of a sudden, one little state in, I think, Virginia popped up in the analytics, and it was just like, "Hey, someone's listening to your first episode," and I'm just going, Gaz, can you believe it? Someone's actually listening to it. That's so cool." And here we are, like, that was back in February. Here we are. I've had a look. We've hit 40 countries, right, around the world, which I didn't think. we'd do. I knew we'd probably get some in Australia, right? But
Got
to
a few
go,
friends, so, like, they would at least do us a solid and download it a few times.
yeah, to hit 40 countries is pretty amazing. Especially countries that I just didn't think would have anything to do with Frosthaven, um, or anything like that. So I'm lots of love and appreciation for everyone who's supported us on this journey. It's been phenomenal, and I'm excited to do it all over again with Gloomhaven 2.0.
We're not even halfway through Frosthaven.
I know I'm planting a seed,
Uh,
and I'm thinking bigger task, right? I'm thinking we might record the sessions, the actual play sessions. Yeah, yeah, I am planning for this. I'm throwing this at you. So I'm thinking,
Look, at the end of the day, you have to do all the
I know
editing,
I'm
so it
aware of
doesn't.
that. I'm aware of that. Definitely. I'm looking forward to getting all the the live rule mistakes as they come as well.
Oh,
But
yeah, no, we can't do that.
look,
No, no,
look,
it's bad
I'll
enough. Like,
I'll put this up
I
there.
mean,
If some people want this, just let me know, and I'll begin planning how exactly I will shoot it. Because at the moment, yeah, I think I've got enough equipment to make it presentable. It's just whether or not there is a world where people want to actually watch the four of us play this thing.
yeah, yeah, so, no, that'd be cool, and yeah, again, just echo it. It's been awesome, meeting people. We've had a couple of people, right? Not a couple. It's happened quite a bit now, where people have just messaged and said like, "Hey, love what you've done. It's so cool listening to you guys. Really, really enjoy it." People posting on Reddit and in the Discord, and just those messages are just they make your day. Like waking up and seeing a message from someone saying like, "Hey, I've been listening to podcasts, for ages. Love what you guys do. It's amazing." It's just like, wow, that's really cool that someone is enjoying listening to us ramble on about, crap.
Mm,
So, it is, and it makes we're constantly talking about what else we can do. The video component of things is something that we are doing. So we've got the Discord up. We've got a feedback and an ideas channel. So if you want to let us know what you like, what you don't like, or more, what other things you'd like to see us do, right? Or even if it's just a topic on the podcast, please jump in and join and have a chat. You don't have to be super active, but it'd be cool to have you in there just to yeah, to chat, and you might get a pet named after you.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. But thank you, yeah,
So
for making our little side hobby a reality.
yeah, so no worries. Well, that probably wraps up 2023 because I reckon by the time this comes out, it'll probably be 2024, right?
Whoa, hang on. I can upload this tomorrow.
Oh, okay, all right, Mister.
I
I didn't
won't.
realize some computer hacker. Like, so yeah, yeah, cool. But no, look, again, it's been great, and for 2023 for the last time, I've been Gaz.
I've been Daddy, and remember, when it comes to rolling in the new year, it's all the rest.